everyone, and welcome to the Mind to Mind Holiday Special. I'm Tiffani Neilson, and with me is my amazing co host, Dr. Joe Perez. How are you doing today, Dr. Joe?
Hello, Tiffany. I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling pretty jolly. I've been preparing for this broadcast, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yep,
And
there
before
you
we
go.
the broadcast, can you tell us any exciting updates for what you've been up to or what you have planned in the year ahead?
Oh my goodness, sure. Well, I finished up 2022 with 35 speaking engagements. I've gotten back from Lithuania, speaking at the Build Stuff conference there. I spoke at FutureCon conference in Atlanta last week, and I've got a Saga Talks webinar this week, and I'm totally done for the year until I speak at Code Mash in Ohio. Ohio in January, not the brightest move I've ever made, but that's all right. I'll be staying at the Kalahari Resort. So they say that there's this humongous water park that's indoor. Never heard of an indoor water park, but I've heard so much about it. I'll get to enjoy it for the first time ever in my life. So looking forward to that. A few other things going on that I'll save for our next show. But what's going on with you, Tiffany?
Well, considering it's Ohio, Dr. Joe, I mean, the water park should probably be inside because our weather is
Yeah.
not as sunny and shiny and hot as it is here in Las Vegas. So we'll be just crossing paths because I'm also headed back to Ohio for the holidays. So we'll just miss each other. And we also just finished up our third annual Industry Insights IoT Awards, which was amazing. I know that you are a finalist for the Thought Leader of the Year category, and it was such a tough competition. But you are the Thought Leader of the Year last year and will always be, Dr. Joe. And also, we have our 2023 Emerging Trends webinar coming up in January, as well as our Green Things Summit coming up in April. And so we're looking forward to those. But let's get into the holiday spirit by talking about some holiday traditions. And there are many traditions around the world and ways that people celebrate the holidays. But in the US, some of the common traditions include decorating, whether that's putting up a tree or lights or hanging mistletoe. And it can also be hanging stockings or decorating your house inside or outside as some unique holiday environment. So lots of ways to experiment there. And in the US, some common traditions also include the exchanging of gifts. And the National Retail Federation estimates that Americans will spend between 942 to 960 billion dollars this holiday
Wow.
season, and sales are predicted to jump somewhere between 6 and 8% once it all is said and done. That's almost $1 trillion industry just in the United States. That is wild. But not all traditions come at a cost. There's also the food, baking cookies, there's eggnog. Around the world, many celebrate with fruitcake. And there's also nativity plays, Christmas movies, or watching a Christmas parade or a holiday parade of some sort. There's also advent calendars. And for Hanukkah, there are traditions such as lighting the menorah or playing dreidel. And for Kwanzaa, people decorate their homes with fruits and vegetables and light a candle holder called the Kinara. But what are some of your favorite holiday traditions, Dr. Joe?
Oh man, there's a bunch of them. Um, so I just love to sing Christmas carols. Both old and new. And whether you're doing it with instruments or without, the neat thing is finding a part that you can use yourself to harmonize with other people in a group. And, just do it a cappella, right? Uh, there's some years, oh man, I remember when my family, when we go to visit my wife's family in Mississippi, and we would drive to Laurel, Mississippi, to um, to see the Christmas lights in all the streets, and it was a really neat custom that people would have. The people living on the different streets, they would pick some kind of theme, okay, and their neighbors all up and down that street would decorate their houses with whatever theme that they had agreed upon, right? For instance, one street. They'd all be decked out with like giant Christmas cards, every one of them. That's what they look like. And on another street would be just like giant candy canes, like my tie. And it was the neat thing to see how the neighbors would cooperate, how they would do that. One might they might all decide to have a series of blue lights. Everybody would do blue, or they do red, or whatever, different color. It would depend from one street to the other. It was really neat to see all that. Beautiful, beautiful. Um, and then there was, let's see, live nativity scenes. Oh man, that was incredible. This would be like way way out in the country. These folks would have like a pretty big yard and a barn there, and all the figures that you normally seen in a nativity scene, right on your mantle or table or something made out of wood or ceramic or even plastic, whatever. We would see those same figures, uh, only there would be flesh and blood, right? The real shepherds dressed up and all, the baby Jesus, the parents, the manger, the hay, even the animals, real live animals, right? You'd hear all the noises from the real animals. I had never seen anything like that growing up. It was always a fake, a static manger scene. But yeah, that was a really neat experience. And while my wife's parents were still living, and all this that I'm talking about took place in Mississippi. We'd come home to their house, to their place where we would stay, and while they were in Mississippi, and we would listen to Papaw. That's what we called Diana's dad. That's what the kids called him anyway. Papaw would read the night before Christmas. Now, it wasn't just any ordinary night before Christmas, the one that you're used to hearing, right? Yeah, the not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. No, no, no. This was a special version. Okay, this was the night before Christmas, Cajun style. I mean, when my boys were little at the time, and they, yeah, wow, they had such a great time. We all did. We got a big kick out of it. Diane and I did too. And my father-in-law had that good old boy Cajun accent down pat. He was hilarious. He was perfect. Awesome. He reminded me so much of the what's his name now, Cajun cook. You put a little bit of onion, a little bit of paprika. He would talk. He did it a whole lot better than I did. Um, I can still see Saint Nick driving his skiff pulled by 8 flying alligators. Instead of Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and stuff, right? It'd be Pierre, Gaston, and stuff were their names. So those are good times. Another thing I remember, um, Tiffany, this is going to seem pretty strange to you, considering what you know about the fact that my wife and I live in North Carolina, right? For more than, I don't know, we've been here more than 35 years, 36. And you would think that homemade ice cream was a big part of it for years and years and years. But no, no. Through the years, I never liked homemade ice cream. To me, it was either too runny or too milky or too icy. But by contrast, my mother in law, she made the absolute best homemade ice cream on this planet or any other planet. Okay. And I describe it as such because it was the only homemade ice cream that I could eat and enjoy. Okay. It was perfect, perfect. But whatever, the one overarching theme throughout it all. Okay. Whatever other activities we might have been doing at the time. Okay. Whether we go to Mississippi or stay in North Carolina or go visit my parents in Florida while they were still living, the important thing every time was to enjoy time with family, to be thankful for them and for everything that made it worth it. I mean, yeah, all these traditions that we have. Um, I can't help but think, surely there must be a bunch of other traditions in other countries. I mean, don't you think, Tiffany?
Well, that's funny, Dr. Joe, because since you are such a world traveler these days, I did some research on global holiday traditions that I'd like to share with you. And the first few traditions are courtesy of Babel. So in Germany, a hairy devil like creature called Krampus keeps kids in line. Legend has it that while Santa brings toys to nice children, Krampus's job is to punish kids on the naughty list by frightening the children with his beastly looks. And people in Austria and neighboring countries often dress up as Krampus early in December to wander the streets and scare children into good behavior, of course. And in Oaxaca, Mexico, December 23rd marks La Noche de Rabanos, the Night of the Radishes, a festival in which merchants and artisans sell radishes that have been intricately carved to depict nativity scenes, local wildlife, and familiar architecture, as well as other relevant displays. And the radish carvings are sold as Christmas centerpieces, and the creator of the best radish design wins a monetary prize. In the United States, we associate Christmas with ham, which I know you love, Dr. Joe, and figgy pudding. But in Japan, it's all about Kentucky Fried Chicken. Well, an estimated 3.5 million Japanese families eat fried chicken on Christmas Eve thanks to a marketing
Wow.
stunt by KFC in the 1970s called Kurisumasu Niwa Kentucky, which means Kentucky
Mm.
for Christmas. Christmas makes up a very small percentage of the Japanese population. So this campaign made up for a lack of Christmas holiday traditions. And the KFC meal is so popular, in fact, that many customers pre-order their dinners, which also include fried chicken, cake, and champagne, months in advance at times. And in some parts of Europe, star singers go caroling, singing special Christmas songs as they walk behind a huge star on a pole. And in Italy, the Italian version of Santa Claus is an ugly but kind old witch called La Befana. And as the story goes, the Magi stopped at her house to ask her for directions on the way to visit baby Jesus. They invited Befana to come with them on their journey, but she said she had too much housework to do. Too much housework for baby Jesus? Okay. Well, after they left, she changed her mind and tried to find them, but couldn't. So now she flies around on the night of January 5th, the eve of the Epiphany, which marks the Magi's meeting with baby Jesus. And much like Santa, La Befana delivers toys to children. Instead of milk and cookies, though, the Italians leave out a plate of sausage, some broccoli, and a glass of wine.
Yeah.
What do you think of these local traditions, Dr. Joe? And do you have any others?
Oh, I love it. That is just awesome. Tiffany, if I were a German kid, man, oh man, I'd be scared today about that Krampus guy. I'd definitely tell my parents something like, "Ach, Mama und Papa, ich verspreche, ich werde dich ja einen guten Junge sein." I think something like that. That's more or less German for Mom and Dad. I promise I'll be a good boy this year. Well, at least I think that's probably what I said. Maybe not exactly correctly. My German's really rusty, but no, no. But as to that Mexican custom you mentioned, yeah, I've actually seen some of those absolutely amazing carved radishes. They're incredible. Quite frankly, I'm glad that I'm not all that crazy about radishes. Yeah, I'd feel pretty bad about, I don't know, maybe eating part of somebody's intricate carved radish manger scene or something. Imagine the look on Mary and Joseph's faces. I mean, seeing a couple of headless wise men, right? They might think they're in the Legend of Sleepy Hollow instead of the first Noel. Okay, that'd be a pretty creepy Christmas, wouldn't it? Yeah, but no, seriously though, there were some pretty nice Cuban customs that my parents and I followed when I was a kid and growing up in Florida. We would actually celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve, not Christmas Day. Okay, Nochebuena is what we refer to. That's Spanish for good night, and it doesn't mean good night like you say good night, goodbye, go to bed, whatever. But no, good night, describing it is a good night, Nochebuena. We would have a huge supper, typically something like arroz con pollo, that's chicken and rice, frijoles negros, that's black beans, and of all things, ensalada or salad. I mean, I love the arroz con pollo. Chicken and rice was always a favorite of mine, but I hate to admit this, but I never really developed a taste for frijoles negros. Can you believe that? I mean, I guess, I don't know, that probably makes me a pretty bad Cuban, maybe the worst on the whole planet, okay? What's even worse? My parents would have plátano maduro, plátano verde. Those are the huge green banana-like things called plantains. They'd cut them up into slices and mash them up and fry them. Cuban delicacy and Latino delicacy. Believe it or not, I never developed a taste for that either. I am a bad Cuban. But what they do in it, you had to have some kind of plátano verde with your arroz con pollo. And instead of the plátano verde with my arroz con pollo, my chicken and rice, my mom would add sliced regular bananas. The plantano or the plantain is a type of in the banana family, and so the little bananas. They call them platanitos, little bananas. Anyway, we would all on Noche Buena, we would eat and then stay up till midnight, and that's when we would open our presents. Not Christmas morning, but Christmas Eve, Noche Buena, as we called it. You know, you asked me about other global festivals. Some of my Latino cousins from other countries, they had some pretty strange customs of their own. Now, they're not my literal cousins, of course, but you mentioned the custom from Mexico, right, about the radishes. Well, one of the strangest I ever heard of was from Venezuela. Okay, people living in Caracas, the capital. These folks had a totally different, unique way of getting to church on Christmas morning. Okay, the government or the city or whatever, they would close down the city streets to traffic every year so that it would be safe for people to skate their way on roller skates. I mean, skate their way to Christmas Mass. No fooling. This tradition had become so ingrained in their society. I'm told that many kids would go to bed on Christmas Eve, right? They've tied their skates together and they tie one of their skate laces around their foot, their ankle, their toe, or something, and then take the other skate and hang it out their window, the bedroom window, I mean. And so their school buddies and neighbor kids, friends, whatever, when they come by, they'd wake them up in the morning by simply tugging on the skate as they go by their window, as they're skating towards the church and get everybody else to get up and skate toward the church. You think that's wild. Okay, here's another one. It's even weirder than this. Okay, you've heard of the Yule log, right? Well, how about the Yule cat? Serious, Yule cat. Now, this one takes the cake, man. Okay, when you think of the Yule cat, okay, the first thing that might come to mind, well, to me, oh, nice little kitty cat, little furry, cute little ball of purring sweetness. Uh-uh, not this cat. Okay, this Christmas tradition, and this was celebrated in the country of Iceland. I don't know if they still do it now, but they did. People brought up thinking about this. The Yule cat is a bloodthirsty panther-like creature that roams around the countryside during Yuletide, the Christmas season, devouring people, especially little kids who have not received their new clothes for Christmas. They've been bad. Okay, I mean that's pretty dark, man. Well, this interesting piece of macabre folklore supposedly originated as a way for farm bosses to motivate their workers in the months leading up to Christmas to do a better job. See, the people who would work the hardest, they would be sure to be rewarded, and their reward would be they get new clothes and thus escape the Yule cat's deadly claws and fangs. I don't know about you, but I think I'm gonna stick to something a little bit safer. Christmas trees, chocolate, right? Hot chocolate, seeing the lights, the nativity scene, the ice cream, opening presents, and spending time with family. To me, again, that's a whole lot less stressful and dangerous than the Yule cat. Okay, so Tiffany, what about you? What are some of your favorite traditional things to do for Christmas?
Staying away from this Yule cat for one. No, I'm
Yes,
just
yes, indeed.
like you, Dr. Joe, I really enjoy spending time with family, so that's definitely top of the list. And also looking at Christmas lights is another favorite pastime of mine as well. In fact, we have a
Yeah.
laser light show on our courthouse in my
Ooh.
hometown that plays a different song or montage of songs for 15 minutes, 3 times an hour. So throughout all of the streets of my small town, ding dong ding, it's like living in Whoville. And so they have these really creative and cool little animated shows where there's elves popping up in the window or reindeer coming out on the lawn. And they've got like a kid one, a rock and roll one, and a traditional one that they do like every 20 minutes for 15 minutes. So it's just a really great way to bring tourism and to bring commerce into our small town and also to spread holiday cheer. And they also have at every street light, there's a different depiction of the story of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. So you can go
Ooh.
through and read the story of Christmas and see life-size mannequins. In fact, my dad even has a life-size mannequin in front of the bank because they bring a new character into the story of Christmas each year. So he's the town photographer sitting in front of the bank every year, which is pretty cool. And also, we used to drive to a place called Ogilvy Park, which is the City of Lights in Wheeling. And we would drive through, and it's a driving excursion, but always something that I really looked forward to. And also the gift exchanges. So, my family on my dad's side was pretty large when we would get together. And just so that everyone had something to open, but we didn't have to necessarily buy for everyone. We would do a white elephant secret Santa kind of gift exchange where you get a gift and you could change it 3 times, then it locks it up. It got
Right.
competitive, very competitive. And so I kind of carried that tradition on here in Las Vegas and invite my friends over for a Christmas gathering each year where we do the white elephant. And when you've got number 33, okay, what are you going to choose? And then they're like, where did those Visa gift cards go? It gets really fun. So
Yeah.
definitely a new twist on an old tradition there. And also decorating the tree, which guided me to want to learn more about where did this tradition of decorating the tree even originate. And according to Wikipedia, a Christmas tree is a decorated tree, usually an evergreen conifer, such as a spruce, pine, or fir, or an artificial tree of similar appearance associated with Christmas. And the custom was further developed in medieval Livonia, present day Estonia, and Latvia, and in early modern Germany, where German Protestant Christians brought decorated trees into their homes. It acquired popularity beyond the Lutheran areas of Germany and Baltic governance during the second half of the 19th century, at first among the upper class. But the Christmas tree is sometimes compared to the Yule tree, not the Yule cat, but they're both Yule, so who knows? But the Yule tree, especially in discussions of its folkloric origins. And the use of evergreen trees, wreaths, garlands to symbolize eternal life was a custom of ancient Egyptians, Chinese, and Hebrews. Tree worship was a common among the pagan Europeans and survived their conversion to Christianity in the Scandinavian customs of decorating the house and barn with evergreens at the new year to scare away the devil and setting up a tree for the birds during Christmas time. During the Roman midwinter festival of Saturnalia, houses were decorated with wreaths and evergreen plants, along with other antecedent customs now associated with Christmas. And the Vikings and Saxons worshiped trees. The story of Saint Boniface cutting down Donar's oak illustrates the pagan practice in the 8th century among the Germans. A later folk version of the story adds the detail that an evergreen tree grew in place of the felled oak, telling them about how its triangular shape reminds humanity of the Trinity and how it points to heaven. In Poland, there's the folk tradition dating back to an old Slavic pre Christian custom of suspending a branch of fir, spruce, or pine from the ceiling rafters called a podlansiska during the time of Koliada Winter Festival. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong for anyone watching. The branches were decorated with apples, nuts, acorns, and stars made of straw. And in more recent times, the decorations also include paper cutouts, wafers, cookies, and Christmas baubles. According to old pagan beliefs, the branches' powers were linked to good harvest and prosperity. Under the state atheism of the Soviet Union, the Christmas tree, along with the entire celebration of the Christian holiday, was banned in the country after the October Revolution. But then the government introduced a New Year's spruce in 1935 for the New Year holiday, which became a fully secular icon of the New Year holiday. For example, the crowning star was regarded not as a symbol of the Bethlehem star, but as the red star. Do you decorate a tree, Dr. Joe? And if so, why? What does it mean to you?
Well, you know, Tiffany, helping to decorate a Christmas tree is quite enjoyable. Man, I have such fond memories of doing that with my parents when I was very young, and it was a real tree. After growing up and getting married, my wife and I would have such a fun time helping to decorate her parents' tree in Mississippi. Again, we go back to Mississippi. Mama would like to have her tree decorate with different themes. And in her later years, mom adopted an angel theme, which means that every single one of her ornaments will be some sort of angel. It was both amazing and beautiful and fun to help her with it. Mama had she had such a thing about angels. I mean, she collected them, figurines. I mean, not the real ones. I wouldn't be surprised if they numbered more than 100 in total. Of course, another thing that doesn't surprise me that she did have such a thing for angels. I mean, after all, she gave birth to an angel, and I married her. Yeah, how's that for being a sweet talking hubby, right? um, but seriously, yeah, that's pretty good. I got some brownie points, but decorating the tree. Um, the important thing is the bonding time with family. You should never decorate a Christmas tree by yourself, right? It's like a project. You start off with a plain looking tree and you end up with maybe a work of art. Okay, well, maybe at least you would hope that it's a work of art. Now, how did you do that? Well, together with the ones that you love the most, celebrating the season that you love the most. You get a sense of satisfaction when everything's done, right? And you get the extra bonus of knowing that you did it together. And not only that, maybe the tree looks great. After all, hey, who can look at a Christmas tree and not smile? Even Charlie Brown's Christmas tree, the little one that was all bent and, stuff. You can't look at it and not smile. How about you, Tiffany?
Well, I have multiple Christmas trees in my house, and they all mean something a
Uh,
little bit different. And I never really thought about it in depth until this exercise, but I've got a blue tree that is in my den, and that's where I usually keep all my gifts for my friends. So I think that one kind of reminds me about communicating with those that are more in the friend circle as opposed to the family circle, which, blue is communication if you think of the chakras and things. So it does make sense. And I've got my red and green tree that is usually in my living room, but I moved it to my landing this year, and it looks great. I love that one, and it kind of represents my family, and it's red and green are kind of your heart chakra and your root chakra, so that kind of makes sense why I would choose those colors and associate it with family. And then I have a lot of little LED trees that kind of emit a lot of different colors, and those kind of remind me of the light and the reason for the season and just the light that's with us all and remembering to shine that light forward and spread that holiday cheer. So that's after thinking about it, that's I
cool.
guess the reason why I have so many trees and what they mean to me.
I
But
love it.
why are holiday traditions important to you, Dr. Joe?
Hmm. Different people have different reasons for different things, right? But to me, having holiday traditions among family is a way to do several things. First, to emphasize the uniqueness of you as a family unit. That is, when you have something that is yours and only yours and identifies you and makes you special, right? It emphasizes the fact that you are a part of something that is to be treasured. Right. Secondly, I think that it's also a way of fostering a sense of belonging, solidifying connections between you and the other members of your family. Okay, these traditions, since they are yours, are things that you share, things that are part of what binds you together. Your common experiences are your common bonds, strengthening that sense of belonging that is so incredibly important to a family. Um, Thirdly, I believe that it also creates memories, especially with little kids. These nice, well, hopefully nice, good, pleasant childhood memories are such an important foundation of growing up. Get a good taste in your mouth, you keep going. It helps associate for children to associate family and love and celebration. It hopefully will get them in the mood for giving, and it helps us put the focus on something other than ourselves, greater than ourselves. And Tiffany, it's these memories that are going to give you something to look back upon, see and seek to forge something within your own family when you grow up and you have kids of your own. Things that you hope that you have instilled into your own children so that, well, you can live to see them grow up and pass on to their own kids if they have any, and then you get to enjoy them again the second time around when you have grandkids. Now, I don't have any yet, but I believe someday I will, and that's another thing to look forward to. What's your take on all this, Tiffany?
Well, I love the way that you broke all that down, Dr. Joe. So thank you so much for
Mhm.
sharing that. And
Yep.
for me, holiday traditions are important because it gives us something to look forward to. I mean, all
Right.
year, I find something small and I put it aside to give as a gift. And it's something that I look forward to as far as going home to visit family that I don't get to see at any other time in the year. And it is all about family and spending time with those you love and celebrating your faith
Yes.
and spreading the holiday cheer and doing things that are nice for other people and giving. I think I look more forward to giving gifts than getting gifts by a long shot. So that's
That's
something that I
fun.
definitely enjoy doing is just gathering up all these gifts and then just the excitement and anticipation just brews inside me. So I'm like Christmas, and I'm just like throwing gifts at people pretty much. But it's just important to spend time with family, and it's also important because you can make new memories and celebrate
Mhm.
memories that have passed. What are some of your favorite holiday memories? I know you've shared a few, Dr. Joe, but are there
Right.
any others that come to mind?
Yeah. Well, wow. You know, I've lived for so many years, many more than you, and many more than most of the audience. Some might think centuries, but no, it's no. I've only been around for about 62. Yeah, that only should be in quotes, only 60 something. Anyway, my favorite holiday memories, yeah, as you said, I mentioned earlier in the conversation, but the ones that would seem to stick out to most for me among all of these, are the firsts in each of those categories that I talked about, right? The excuse me, the first time that I decorated a themed Christmas tree, the first time that I saw a live nativity scene, the first time that I saw those candy cane streets of Laurel, the first time that I actually liked homemade ice cream. Yeah, one I didn't mention, the first time that I tried this amazing stuff called divinity. Oh my word. Woo, that was awesome. The first time, I didn't mention this one either. The first time that I actually got to relax in a hot tub on a freezing night. Yeah. Another one I didn't mention. The first time that I ever saw it snow in Mississippi. Of course, who's going to forget the first time that I laughed my head off at the Cajun Christmas, Cajun night before Christmas. Yeah, there's a bunch before me, but yeah, the firsts is the point. The first time of any of these are the ones that stick out the most to me. What about you, Tiffany? What memories stick out to you?
Well, I can remember just the entire Christmas experience where it's Christmas
Yeah,
Eve and going to church and going to that Christmas Eve mass and then driving around afterwards to look at the lights and they have a luminary that they call it where people put out milk jugs with candles in it and you drive through in local neighborhoods. It's really nice. And then waking up on Christmas morning and seeing all the gifts that Santa had delivered the night before. And then my parents were just they would go way over the top for Christmas. And so there were so many gifts from Santa and from them. And my dad somehow would have some special gift for us tucked away as kind of a final surprise. And the
yeah.
one year that I remember the most, he brought us downstairs, and I believe that he had a new guitar for my brother, and he had this amazing 4 foot tall wooden dollhouse that was so intricate and had a little mini pool table and little mini couches and like a little mini gumball machine in it. It was unbelievable. I had a plaque that said to Tiffany Ann, our daughter, from my parents. I was like, oh my gosh, it was magical,
Oh,
like a little ring for my mom. And that Christmas really was just one of the most magical Christmases that I will ever experience and was just so amazing. And we followed it by going down to my grandma's house for this incredible dinner with all of my family on my mom's side and seeing all my uncles and aunts and all of my cousins all together. And then they would go watch football and we'd go to the kitchen and help with the dishes and chit chat. And the kids would go and play
yeah.
with their new toys. And it was just such an experience. And while I miss my grandma and she's not with us anymore, and the holidays change when you lose someone that's kind of a pillar in your family. And with change comes room for new traditions. And so
Yeah.
we can't get so sad in the past that we don't leave room for things that are new and bringing new love and new light into Christmas into every day, into our lives at all times. And so this year we're going to go see the house that A Christmas Story was filmed at. So I'm looking forward to
Oh,
that. And Jennifer Davis and I just went to Enchant here in Las Vegas, which is a new Hallmark experience that they've created where you go on a maze and you look for different reindeer. So that was
really?
awesome. When things change, don't limit yourself and lock yourself up and just try to hide away. Give yourself
Right.
room and ability to have new light and memories come in. So, but what are some ways that you can spread holiday cheer, Dr. Joe? Maybe you know someone that needs a little extra holiday cheer, or
Yeah,
maybe anyone, a random stranger. What do you think?
exactly. Oh man, spreading holiday cheer is always a good thing, because I believe that we spread holiday cheer by focusing on others instead of ourselves. All right. Christmas is supposed to be a joyous time of giving, right? So if you are already in the giving spirit, hey, that's going to help to overcome any stinginess. All right. Showing good cheer tends to cancel out grumpiness. A smile is so contagious. A nice, friendly greeting, a hug, even something as simple as a warm handshake. Even a Merry Christmas can brighten somebody's day. But as you alluded to, Christmas can sometimes be a sad time for people, especially if they're not able to be with family, or maybe they've lost a spouse or family member, like your grandmother and my parents, my wife's parents. They're grieving over the death of a loved one. If I can help to carry somebody's burden or ease somebody's pain or lift somebody's spirits, I ought to do whatever in the world I can do to make that happen, right? But it's not going to happen if I'm focused on me, myself. You know, how many times have we heard talk about the joy of giving, the joy of random acts of kindness, right? We talked about that a little bit in our Thanksgiving special last month, didn't we? I'm not going to rehash all the details that we talked about, but I do think the same principle applies here in December. All right, last month we talked about having an attitude of gratitude, right? How about this month? Living forgiving. Hey, how's that for a cool mantra, right?
I
You know,
like
so
it.
so yeah, me too. Well, don't just talk about it. Let's model that trait to others by giving of ourselves. Yeah, it's great to try to think of some nice present or gift to give of somebody, but what is it that we all have that is more important and more valuable than anything else? It's our time, right? And that's what we give. And don't just talk about doing it and being loving, but model it. Okay, sing some Christmas carols. You talked about singing. You're involved in a church or synagogue, civic group, and they might organize times to sing carols to neighbors. Sign up for that. You never know how much it might mean to somebody else who might be having a bad day. They might be alone. They might just be feeling down. Imagine the smile that you're going to put on their face. You show up on their front line, on the front lawn rather, with a bunch of carolers sprinkling and bringing good cheer that way. Okay, I love the way I saw this on a Hallmark store on the sign. It says, "Give more, love more, laugh more." Okay, when I saw that, I could have said it better myself. How do you see it, Tiffany? And what do you recommend as other ways of spreading good cheer?
Well, I really like all of the examples that you gave, Dr. Joe. And some other ways to spread holiday cheer would include visiting family, sending cards. I always send Christmas cards. I love sending
Yes,
cards, singing carols for sure, and volunteering. I mean, donating spare change, food, toys, or your time. Maybe going to an assisted living facility and reading to them or just asking them to share some holiday memories. It's a good way to help jog their memory back. It's a great way to spread holiday cheer and also to start out the new year in the right way. I mean, January is a pretty lonely month for some people. So if you don't have time to do it over the holidays, you could always go and do that in January as well. And the key is, just
yes,
like you said, not to get so caught up in the details or yourself or putting this ridiculous amount of pressure on yourself that no one could ever live up to, which I think everyone's probably guilty of doing at some point in their life. But, the more that we focus on others and not on ourselves, just as you mentioned, Dr. Joe, I think that's really the key. And
agree.
another one of the most important aspects, in my opinion, of the holidays is faith and the reason for the season. And not all holidays are created equal. And depending on your faith, the celebration could last for a day, a night, a week, a month. I mean, there are plenty of ways to celebrate, and there's a different reason for all of them. And so, to share a few of them with you, there's Hanukkah, which is celebrated for 8 days each November or December. And Jews light a special candle holder called the menorah. And they do it to remember an ancient miracle in which 1 day's worth of oil burned for 8 days in the temple. And so that's their reason for the season. The Three Kings Day. Three Kings Day is at the end of the 12 days of Christmas, and that comes a day called the Epiphany, rhymes with Tiffany, or Three Kings
Yeah.
Day. And this holiday is celebrated as the day the three wise men first saw baby Jesus and brought him gifts. There's winter solstice. The winter solstice occurs around December 21st and is the shortest day of the year. And people all over the world participate in festivals and celebrations by lighting bonfires and candles to coax back the sun. And St. Lucia Day is to honor this third century saint on December 13th. And many girls in Sweden dress up as Lucia brides in long white gowns with red sashes and a wreath of burning candles on their heads. They wake up their families by singing songs and bringing them coffee and twisted saffron buns called Lucia cats. St. Nicholas Day, a popular December holiday in many European countries that celebrates St. Nicholas of Myra, and the man whose life was inspired by the traditions of Santa Claus and Father Christmas. He gave all of his money to the needy and was known for his compassion for children and those in need. And the holiday remembers the man and the anniversary of his death, December 6th, 343 AD, and many celebrate with parades, feasts, gift giving, and festivals. And then, of course, Christmas. And Christmas celebrates Christmas Day as the anniversary of the birth of Jesus of Nazareth, a spiritual leader whose teachings form the basis of their religion. The Christmas festivities in Ireland tend to be more religious in nature than being about gifts. And Christmas celebrations last from Christmas Eve until January 6th, the Epiphany. But, Dr. Joe, in your opinion and belief, what is the reason for the season?
Well, Tiffany, excuse me. I am so glad that you asked me that question. I appreciate it because to me, this is absolutely my favorite question of the day. Everybody already knows my faith is such a huge part of my life. So it informs my focus throughout the year and well, especially during the Christmas holiday season. And speaking of focus, we talked about focus. Well, when I think of the word reason, I think of purpose, motivation. Again, the word focus comes to mind. Um, I I just cannot help but think of my Lord and Savior as the reason for the season. I can't help but focus on the one who's my ultimate motivation for loving and knowing how to love. Give. We talk about giving presents for Christmas and giving of ourselves. Well, how can I possibly forget the ultimate example of the greatest gift ever given when God Himself gave His only begotten Son to come to earth and give His life for us and to show us the way to live. Now, after all, if I'm going to be celebrating His birthday, well, duh, how could I possibly leave Him out of His own celebration, of His own party? Of course, we know December 25th is only a traditional date where the birth of Jesus is celebrated. Many scholars speculate that Jesus could possibly have been born in maybe September or October sometime. Nobody knows for sure. It wasn't written down. The story was written down, but not the day. The 25th was chosen for the day sake of tradition. I won't get into the story behind why it's the 25th or whatever. That's another talk for another time. But here's my point. Whatever day it is, the important thing to remember is that the spirit of giving starts with the one who gave his all for us. The spirit of loving starts with the one who loved us enough to do it. And the spirit of doing, well, hey, that's what puts it all into practice, challenging me to live out my faith each day. You know what? I believe that we all would do well to follow that supreme example of that the Lord Himself set for us. Now, others may differ. You have your own opinion, and other people have you have your own faith. You may not have any faith, and that's perfectly fine. for you to make that choice. But as for me, well, I can't help it. I cannot stop praising the name above all names, the name of that holy child who came to seek and to save that which was lost. All right. He came the first time in a humble manger, and he'll be coming again the second time as the conquering King of Kings. And, I just can't help but love him. I just can't help but worship him. You know, Tiffani, I tell you what, thank you so very much for being such an amazing co host in this program. I wish you and yours and our audience too a very Merry Christmas and a wonderful holiday season. Back to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joe. And no matter what your faith is, I hope that all of you watching have a very happy holiday. Spend it with those you love, spend it in faith, and have a Merry Christmas, Dr. Joe, and a Happy New
Merry
Year.
Christmas.
We'll see all of you in 2023. Stay
Yes.
blessed.
Bye, everybody.
Happy holidays. Hello, everyone. I'm Tiffani Neilson, and on behalf of IoT Marketing and Industry Insights webinars, we would like to wish you a very happy holidays and a Merry Christmas. Not to mention, Happy New Year! We look forward to bringing you even more amazing broadcasts in 2023.